Hello Ratbags, it's Jade Plays Games. Welcome to a Subnautica tips and guide video. Today I'm going to be showing you exactly the first steps of survival and how you can get a base set up within just 2 hours of gameplay. I played Subnautica on the Xbox One, and the Xbox One does have all the same content as PC. It's just currently lacking a final touch of optimization. So go ahead and start playing it on your Xbox. It will have all the same content as PC since it launched. After your escape from the Aurora, Subnautica does open up a world of possibilities of survival, but don't worry, it's not as hard as you may think. During the early access period, lots of resources could be really hard to get hold of, and the game just wasn't necessarily balanced as well. But since the game has had its final updates, it has remarkably improved. You will not spend all day long trying to find certain resources, as long as you know what to look for. The best advice to start off with is make sure you read this section here. Go through every single base material and see what you need to craft it. These are the building blocks that are going to make you succeed in Subnautica. When you first start, make sure you take the available medkit from the med bay. It is really important to do this because it generates more medkits for you. As long as you've got lots of space, keep storing these away. Every time you go back to your little craft or vehicle, make sure you're always taking a medkit out. When you die, you do lose a small portion of items that you had on you, so don't always take everything you can. Just take exactly what you need for whatever mission or exploration you're going to be doing. Subnautica can be really dangerous if you're not paying attention, with radiation, sea creatures, and of course running out of oxygen. For any reason you are finding the game hard, you can change the game mode at any time using commands, or exit out and load up the game in a creative mode. Or play the game mode where you don't need food and water if you just want to explore and experience the story. I nearly done that, but I decided to give the survival a go, and I'm really glad I did, because once you get to grips with it, food and water is no problem at all. So your first hour in Subnautica is pretty much you being a hungry hippo. Go swim down as far as you can down to the bottom here, and look for the tiny little outcrops that line against these little cliffs. Rinse and repeat. Just go ahead and gather everything you can see from the outcroppings and any bits of ore or metal that are lying around on the seabed floor. Don't worry too much about creatures. As long as you've not ventured too far off your escape pod, you should be okay to gather as many resources as you want. And like I said, once you've got enough in your inventory full, head back up to your escape pod and we're going to craft a whole bunch of stuff that's going to help you. One thing you're not going to necessarily need is creature eggs. Leave them be. There's not much use for them just yet. All you need to do is make sure that you're gathering resources for the first half an hour. So once you're back at your escape pod, go downstairs and make sure you're using your actual fabricator. This is what's going to craft a bunch of stuff for you. Go for the basic materials like titanium. Titanium's utilised in the metal salvage you might have found. You're going to need lots of that to build your base and all sorts of components. So whenever there's an opportunity to make titanium, always do it and make it, and it frees up lots of space in your inventory. After that, make a couple of batteries. You're not going to need too many. If you've got an opportunity to make at least 2, I would say 2 is the limit. Next up, you're going to want something so you can breathe underwater more. You can see you've only got 45 seconds of air, but as soon as you make your first tank, it increases it to 75 seconds. That's a big difference. So go ahead and craft an actual air tank. Next up on your essential list is a scanner. This is ultimately going to open up the world to you much quicker and faster by scanning debris, scanning items and blueprints, which means you'll be able to craft a lot more things in the future. So always get a scanner after you've got your air tank. Now there's obviously other things you can craft. I wouldn't necessarily get any more storage just yet. You should have enough space in the locker that's inside the life pod, but if you really do want to get yourself a waterproof locker, go ahead and do one. But you can see here there is a fair bit of space early on in game. Transport everything into the locker so that it can now go out and get the next pieces that you need to start crafting more equipment. Your scanner is probably the most important piece of equipment you can have on you at all times. After that, it probably goes to the knife, and then after that it's apparatus to get you around Subnautica quicker or protect you. So with your scanner in hand, go and find all the debris that you can see just around your life pod and make sure you scan the blueprints. They can be a bit hard to see and sometimes they're inside these little containers, so make sure you check every single one. A lot of the time you're going to need to scan 2 or 3 of the same blueprint or item to actually unlock it. Once you've done that and you find the same blueprint, it will instead convert into materials or resources. So it's still really important that you go and scan it. Don't miss up an opportunity to scan an item. It'll always give you either a blueprint or resources. These resources are normally titanium, which is fantastic because it means you don't have to carry loads of big heavy metal. You can just literally carry the titanium much quicker and easier back to your life pod so you can utilise it to craft stuff. So by now, hopefully you've seen lots of this creep vine about. Make sure you go and scan it. Everything you scan, bio life forms, will add to your knowledge of Subnautica and help you out in terms of what they do. Gather as many creep vine seed clusters as you possibly can. You will be back here with a knife to take some of the actual leaf, the actual plant itself, but you do need a knife to cut it. So for now, just keep gathering the clusters. Once you're back, you'll be able to craft some silicone rubber. You don't need too much of this, so don't waste lots of resources crafting too much rubber or fibre mesh, which is what you're going to use the actual leaf or the plant from the creep vine. Just craft enough to utilise what you need for that moment. If you've got enough resources, make sure you craft some fins as well. They're going to give you added speed in the water. And now you can look at the survival knife. I need some titanium. Luckily I had some in my locker. So within 20 minutes, half an hour of the game, you should have a knife, a scanner, fins, and you've got a breathing tank as well to give you extra breath under the water. By now you should have also eaten some of your rations that you started the game with. As long as you've not died, they will be enough and sufficient to keep you going, so you don't even have to think about food or water for a little while longer. However, in case you did die and you did lose some of your resources, or you just want to make sure you've got plenty of food and water, let's go through the basics. Just like real life, you will die of thirst rather than die of hunger, so make sure you're doing the following things. You're looking for salt. Salt will normally be found on the seabed. It's not that hard to find, you just need to scan over it a little bit and get a bit closer up. You can also go and get some coral. Now I've got table coral here, which isn't much use just yet. What we're looking for is the great big tube coral. You can see these massive tubes and you can see the coral on top of it. Hack away with your knife and you've got all you need now, as long as you found some actual salt, to make bleach. Craft some bleach up from your basic materials and you should have everything you need to make purified water. There is another way to get water early on in the game if you find a particular fish. The bladder fish can give you water and food intake as long as you manage to catch some. When you craft it, you should get at least 2 or 3 bottles, so you shouldn't have no worries about water for a while now once you've crafted a few up. Now onto food, and it's really easy, and it's something I missed out on for a long period of playing the game earlier on in the year. It's picking up fish. You don't need to do anything special, you don't need to attack fish, you just simply need to go up to them and press the A button. It can be a bit difficult, it's meant to be, they're meant to swim away from you. You can make a device that attracts them in so it makes it easier, but initial stages, just keep persevering, go after one and try and grab one the minute it comes past your face. By taking the fish back to a fabricator, you can cook it or you can cure it. By cooking it, it gives you triple the amount of food and it doesn't take away any of your water supply. If you eat raw fish, it will make you lose some water. So bear that in mind when you're out and about. Make sure you've got enough food on you. You don't want to be on your last legs with water and then suddenly you need to eat and then all of a sudden it's thirst that's killing you because you haven't actually prepared properly. So you've got the basics down. We've salvaged, we've gathered lots of resources, we've got the basic tools and we've got the basic food and supplies we need. A few little small points. This is a brain coral. It will actually give you oxygen. As long as you hover directly over it, it will fill up your oxygen levels. So if you are somewhere deep down and you do need that little bit of extra air rather than swimming all the way up to gather something, look for one of these guys and as you can see, it starts pumping up your oxygen. Remember I said you'd be back to get some creep vine? Well, now you've got your knife, come over here and get some. You're going to need this for fibre mesh, which is useful for your radiation suit, which you're going to need very soon, and a bunch of other stuff. By now you should have been gathering lots of different resources like copper, silver and maybe even some gold by venturing further and further away from your capsule. You'll find all them resources are just listed in the outcropping, so make sure you go and find them in some of the caves and alongside the cliffs. At this point now though, the aurora is about to explode and this is what's going to give off a lot of radiation in the area. That's why you need the radiation suit. You'll also use it for later on in the game as well, but now you've unlocked it, you'll be able to craft one up and it will mean you can explore much further. It requires 2 fibre mesh and some titanium. After that, do not make any more fibre mesh or any rubber for a while until you really need it for something particular. You can craft too much of that stuff and you waste valuable resources. Only craft what you need, like I said earlier. The radiation suit will equip itself automatically, you don't have to do anything. There is a helmet you can actually make in a while called a Rebreather, which will give you extra oxygen while you're in the water. You might not need that just yet, so we'll focus on some of the other things that you might be doing right now. With your scanner and your radiation suit, you should be going out further and further away from your escape pod. Maybe even make a sea glide, which is designed to help you go through the water really quickly. You can really zip around when one of these comes along, and it scans the terrain for you to make things a little bit easier knowing what's down there. So we've got the basics. Now it's a case of looking at some of the tools and the other items that you might want to get, but pretty soon you're going to maybe want to start making your base. You're going to need a lot of materials for the base, mainly titanium, so make sure you gather as much metal as you can and you process it into titanium. Don't forget, when you scan blueprints you've already scanned, it normally gives you some titanium, so that's even better to help you make your components to build your first underwater base. You are going to need a lot more advanced items, particularly electronics like computer chips, but once you've got enough you can build your habitat builder. It needs a wiring kit, a computer chip and a battery. This is what's going to create your base for you. So craft your habitat builder up, and then you've just got the decision where to build your first base. Don't be too precious about it, you will build lots of bases, and once you get your actual submersibles working you might not even need your base as much as you would think. So have somewhere where you can just put more items, store more storage and gather more resources. I went the opposite way from the Aurora. We will be exploring the Aurora later on, so I decided to go the opposite direction and have my little life pod as just a little way station. You don't want your base too far that you might get in danger by going up to some dangerous creatures, and like I said, you don't want it too near that it's too close to your life pod. I thought this was a good location as it went off into a much deeper trench that I would go exploring later on. You can see most of the items you need are titanium to build these core functions, but there's a lot more you've got to do to make it habitable. Once you've got your shell, once you've got your base laid out how you want it, or you've got at least a couple modules, you then need to think about how to get oxygen into it. As you can see, once you've placed your hatch down and you've climbed inside your module, you'll realise there is no oxygen, so it's pretty useless at the moment until you can get either a pump unit in it or you can activate it so it starts producing oxygen. So the pump unit is fairly cheap to make. You can't obviously put it inside the module, don't be a donut like me, make sure you climb outside. You need to place it on the foundation piece. Once it's there you can see it goes green, just put it anywhere. It can be absolutely anywhere on that foundation piece, it doesn't matter. And then after that you just simply need some power to power the pump and to power your base. You don't need to do anything else. There is some pipes you can make and you can feed the pipes into certain parts of your base, but I think as long as it's only like one foundation wide you don't necessarily need that just yet. I will be doing a much more advanced tutorial on base building and some of the better ways to do it and some of the better ways how you can reinforce your base and get some extras for your base. But that is it. Once you've got your power supply, once you've got the solar panel, your base is fully functional. You've got your pump, you can breathe oxygen, you can start transporting stuff here, you can make a fabricator, you can make lots and lots of items, and there you go. Like I told you, within a very short space of time. In fact, after watching this video I'll be very surprised if it takes you more than half an hour to 45 minutes to get to this stage. Just do a little bit of gathering, make sure you're doing the scanning like I told you, and make sure you're only crafting the stuff you really need. So there you go, that is my starter guide to Subnautica. There's not much more to it. Within 30 minutes, 45 minutes maybe after watching this, I'll be very surprised if it takes you longer than that to get your own base up and running. Just stick to what I say, gather lots of resources, scan as much as you can, and you'll be soon on your way to making your very first base. In part 2 we're going to be going over some more advanced tools you'll need and some of the key locations you'll want to explore first in Subnautica. If you really like this video, make sure you let me know, like it, comment on it, let me know how you're getting on with Subnautica and your own tips and any other hints you might be able to give me. If I think they're good enough, if I think they're really, suitable, I will definitely pop them in the next video. I'm Jade Plays Games, thank you a lot for watching and I'll see you ratbags for more Subnautica soon.